Hi everybody, this is Ms. Mocano, and today I want to run you through this lab that you're going to have to do in class and give you a few hints on it. All right, so this is a PhET lab. It's an activity that you can access by clicking on this hyperlink that I'm providing you as part of your lab. So when you click on that, excuse me, it's going to open up a window that looks like this. Go ahead and click on that play sign. And you're going to come up to a screen that looks like this. We're going to click on Atom. And we're going to start from there. So your screen is going to look like this. You're going to want to go ahead and click on this green plus signs so that we can have all the information that we need disposable to us. We also want to make sure that element and neutral / ion are clicked down here. Once you have this, you're in good shape to continue with your lab. So we've done this part already. You can get onto the first 3 questions over here, which are basically just review from what you've done in the past 2 classes regarding subatomic particles. So go ahead and answer those. Once you're done with that, we're going to get into the PhET activity. So the first thing it's asking you to do in question number 4, it's asking you to build a neutral atom of oxygen. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and then you guys are going to make your own models. So to build a neutral atom of oxygen, first of all, what does the word neutral mean? The word neutral means that it's not positive and it's not negative. It's neutral, meaning that the positive charges, the protons, perfectly balance the electrons, the negative charges, in your atom. Okay? So in order to even start to build this oxygen, what do I do? Where do I even start? Well, I'm going to start with my periodic table, which you guys all have. And what I'm going to do is look for the element oxygen on this. And I can also show you at ptable.com. So I'm going to just look for oxygen. So here's oxygen. And right away, I can see a whole bunch of information. First piece of information I'm going to look for is this atomic number of 8. So my oxygen has an atomic number of 8. Right away, I know that that gives me the number of protons for oxygen. Well, once I know the number of protons, and I know that my oxygen is neutral, I know that my electrons have to balance out my protons. So I got 8 protons. I'm going to have 8 electrons in order to balance themselves out. The last piece of information I can find from my periodic table is this number right here, which, as we know, that is the atomic mass. I'm going to round this to the nearest whole number. So I'm going to have 16 is my atomic mass. And as you know from the previous work we did in class, if I want to find number of neutrons, I'm just going to do atomic mass, which we said is 16, minus number of protons, which we said is 8. So I'm going to come out with 8 neutrons for oxygen. Now that I know all this information, I can go to my PhET, and I can start to build my atom. So I'm going to start with protons because I know that protons are what identifies an element. All right. So look what happens. I put 1 proton, that gives me hydrogen. I put another proton, that makes helium. So you can see how as I change the number of protons, it literally changes the identity of my element. Now I have lithium, I have beryllium. So I'm going to keep going with the protons until I get 8 of them, because I know that oxygen has to have 8 protons in its nucleus. So there we go. I have 8 protons, and that gave me oxygen, which is what I wanted. But am I done now? I'm not done yet, because oxygen doesn't just have protons in it. As we know, and as we did here, oxygen also has neutrons and electrons. So I have to also put those in. So let's do the neutrons. Where do the neutrons go? Well, the neutrons, as we know from past classes, they also go in the nucleus. And in fact, if I try to put a neutron out here, it's not even going to let me do it because that's not where they go. Neutrons go in the nucleus right along with the protons. So I want 8 neutrons in there. 1, 2, 3. And notice what happens as I add neutrons. Notice what happens to this mass number. Every time I add one, my mass number goes up by 1. And that's because, as we talked in class, we know that each neutron has a mass number of 1 AMU. And so does each proton. So once we have 8 neutrons and 8 protons in there, I have my mass number of 16, which is the correct mass number for oxygen. Okay? So I'm almost all done, but I'm missing the electrons. So oxygen, as we know, we said that in order to have a neutral atom of oxygen, my electrons have to balance my protons, so I got to do something with the electrons. Now watch what happens. If I try to put these electrons in the nucleus, they won't stay there because they don't belong there. They belong on the outer shells. So how many electrons am I going to put? Well, I'm going to put 8 electrons because I got to balance out my 8 protons in the nucleus. So I'm going to put 2 on this first shell because that first shell could only hold 2. And the rest of 6 are going to go on the other shell. Now, as I'm doing this, watch what happens to this net charge. So this net charge right here is showing me that I got all these pluses, all these protons, 8 of them, in the nucleus. And watch what happens. As I keep adding electrons, it keeps kind of balancing them out. It adds those negative charges. And I'm going to do that until all of the pluses, all of the protons are perfectly balanced by my electrons, which is what I have right now. And you can see that this is giving me a net charge of 0, which is what I want. So this is my final product that now I can take a screenshot of, and I can put right here where it's asking me to put in an image of the atom. So make sure when you do that, you give me all of the information and you have the correct number of protons, correct number of neutrons, correct number of electrons. So everything here should look right. Your element, whatever you're building, should have a net charge of 0. And it should have the correct mass number that you can find from the periodic table, what that mass number should be. All right, so I just did for you the first example. Now you're going to do the same thing. You're going to build your own atom of helium. Next, you're going to do lithium. Next, questions 7 through 13 is basically asking you to summarize what you learned in doing this activity. And finally, you're going to go to this game feature right here. And this is self-explanatory, but basically there are 3 games here. You're going to play each one of them. There are 4 games. I'm asking you to only play 3 of them. So you're going to play this one, and this one. And as you play, you're going to see that it's going to give you a score. And I'm asking you to take a screenshot when you get a score of at least 8 out of 10. Keep playing until you get 8 out of 10. When you got 8 out of 10 or more, take your screenshot, paste it here, and that's it. You're done. All right, I hope this was helpful to start you guys up with the lab. And good luck and have fun.